College National All-American Livestock Judging Team. He then went to Texas Tech University and was honored to be a part of the 2016 National Champion Livestock Judging Team, and then was named Reserve National Champion Individual. He graduated from Tech with a Bachelor of Science in Animal Science and completed his Master's of Science in Agricultural Education at the University of Arizona. He's now an ag teacher in Kirtland, New Mexico, where he enjoys creating opportunities for youth to succeed and expanding agriculture education opportunities. Please help me welcome Mr. Zane Webster as he sorts our sheep and goat shows today. I don't have a class list, so we're going to go someone. Yeah. This is the class 1 of market goats. Yep. So we're starting with 4-H, and then we're going to FFA, and then prospect and breeding, we're doing FFA and 4-H together because the classes are small. Or no, the overall champion. We're gonna start out with our class 1 of market goats. These market goats weigh between 60 and 68 pounds. We have Matthew Schmidt from Frog Hollow 4-H, Alexis Allred from Steptoe Canyon 4-H, Alexis Allred from Stepton Canyon 4-H, Scarlett McGregor from Lacrosse All-Purpose 4-H, Grayson Yates from Northwest Rangers 4-H, Kesley Tellison from Peaceful Valley 4-H, Wyatt Boring from Freeman 4-H, and Tegan Peace from Buckles and Bling 4-H. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our ring sponsor, Spangle Saloon, which is located in the heart of Spangle, Washington. The Spangle Saloon and Grill is a proud supporter of the Junior Livestock Show of Spokane. Swing off Highway 195 and enjoy their famous burgers, roasted chicken, and cold beverages.
Well, welcome to the Goat Show. We've had an awesome morning with the Sheep Showman, and looks like we're going to have a great morning with the Goat Show, or a great afternoon, excuse me, with the Goat Show. Starting off strong out here, lots of different colors and types and kinds in this particular class. Young lady with the cool colored shirt wins very, very easily. That's a goat without a doubt the most muscle and still has the most attractive look, and then is just an extra boot he's shown to the tees as well. That's the goat when you get your hands on him. Grabs with the most shape up high. He's much, much thicker ended than the one there in 2. He's much fresher topped than the one there in 3, and he still has some chest floor to him and has some balance and look from the profile. Very nice place to start. The one in 2, I think if you study him from the side and get your hands on him, that's where you really like that guy. He's much fresher topped than the one there in 2nd, or excuse me, 3rd. He's actually, it's kind of almost surprising when you get your hands on him. He's very, very level in his top line. From behind, he just doesn't have enough in the seam of his pants. He gets too narrow and needs more muscle and power and punch. I almost sorted him down a little bit further, but his quality and handling quality was too good to put any lower. Cool paint, brown hipped goat coming out next is one I really contemplated a switch. I think this one's larger in his foot size, and this one has a little bit more arm to him as well. When I get my hands on him, his spine is the first thing that hit me. I got to see that guy a little fresher in his shape up high. I'd like to correct him on his rear pastern. I'm kind of a weak pastern hater, and he just gets a little long there, but I like the way you show him. You really get a lot out of him. Young lady here in 4, from the outside looking in, I think that goat does a lot of good. He's ultra stout-footed and kind of gives the illusion that he's kind of a powerhouse, and he's big-chested and big in his arm, but you get your hands on him just like the one ahead of him. He's a little bit too prominent in his spine. He's a little bit narrow-loined. I just have to work on that handling quality up high to work him up any higher. Paint goat coming out next is bigger chested, bigger boned, and just has more meat animal shape than the ones right behind him. The reason he doesn't sort any higher is because comparatively he still doesn't have enough shape, as much shape as the ones ahead of him. He gets a little bit too weak in his top line for me. I'd like to correct him there. Young lady with the brown goat is actually the one coming out next. That one is has more muscle and a little bit more width than the whiter or lighter goats right behind her. But overall, this one still needs more power and punch. Kiddos that round out the class with the 2 lighter goats, I think they're level, they're long-necked, and they're shown extremely good. But for me, they're just too narrow and light-muscled. We just got to get them a little bit more groceries to work up any higher. Great job to all these kiddos from top to bottom. Let's give them a big round of applause.
All right, we have class number 2 coming into the ring now. We have Aiden Miller from West Plains Rangers, Addison Miller from West Plains Rangers 4-H, Oakley Owens from North Country 4-H, Pearl Ann McDaniel from Liberty Knights, Josie Nagel from Muddy Rascals 4-H, Hunter Wilson from the Ranchers 4-H Club, Bria Brickley from West Plains Rangers 4-H, Pearl Ann McDaniel from Liberty Knights 4-H, and Colton Biranot from Roselia 4-H. And for your Class 1, your two that will be coming back are Kesley Tellison in first place and Grayson Yates in second place. Will be coming back for the final drive.
fairly competitive class out here, and the young lady in the black brings me one that I think needs to win this class in terms of meat animal shape and product. He's got the most of it. He grabs with an upstanding rack shape that's wide and firm, and carries that true back into his loin. He's the thickest ended goat by some margin, and when we set him into motion, he's still attractive and good looking. The one in seconds maybe longer necked and maybe a little bit shallower chested. Maybe there's some goats that are leveler out of their hip, but to me he's proportional without a doubt. He's the market animal in this particular group. Now, in just regards to having a good looking one, this paint goat in second does a lot of really cool things. That is a really tall fronted goat that runs uphill. His neck's a mile long, and he's really extended from the profile. With that being said, looking past his fuzz, he still has a large foot size underneath. I just wish that translated into more shape up high. He gets a little bit too common in his rack and his loin, and needs to have more power when you step in behind him, but he works up into second place because his parts and pieces are just most unique in this particular class. Young man in the plaid's going to have the third place goat, and he's kind of fighting some skin and hair issues out here. I think if you look past that, that's actually a pretty nice goat that has some genuine muscle. He's got a groove out of the back of his shoulder there, and has some shape to his lower hip. I contemplated actually working him into second. But for me, he just got a little bit too plain from the side. He's thicker about his skin as well, a little bit too round in his hip. And I'd like to see him get out and go with just a little bit more function and attractiveness in the way he moves his wheels. But young man, he did a good job getting him shown. I like this doe here in 4. I think she'd be one that would be great to turn out in the breeding herd. She's big backed and thick in her loin, but still from behind, she kind of narrows to her hooks and pins and gets a little bit high twisted. Of those top 4, she was the straightest in her shoulder and knee and the thickest necked. Young lady, that goat was giving you fits out here in 5, but you handled it extremely well. That red-legged goat is one that I think has more look and attractiveness than the remainder, and more muscle. He didn't work up any higher because he's too weak behind his shoulder and a little bit plainer in regards to his loin. The coolest colored goat I've probably ever seen in my life, and I've judged thousands of these things, and that is the coolest colored one, so that means something, right? I'm sure he'll sell for a lot of money because some buyer will want that hide. A good-looking one that's level-made and good out of his hip. Young lady, he needs more muscle and bone to work up any higher. For the remaining 3 goats in this class, kiddos, you did a good job. I thought they all led well. Long necked, long loined. They're too weak behind their shoulder and need more muscle. Good class from top to bottom. Let's congratulate these kiddos on a job well done.
This is our third class, 4-H market goat. We just have two in here. We have Andrea Daniels and Hagen Triplet. The goats range from 92 to 99 pounds.
From Class 2, we will have Josie Nagel and Hunter Wilson returning for the final drive.
There's only two in this class, but we could have 20 more of them, and I think these two would rise to the forefront because there's some genuine quality in these goats right in front of us. With that being said, I still think the young man, your goat, wins very easily. That's a very, very nice one. He's big-footed. He's big in his chest. He's big in his arm. He's big in his top. He's big in his hip. He's stout everywhere, but still proportional and attractive when we ask him to go. He maybe has a touch more chest and belly than I'd like him to be. You could maybe suck him up just ever so slightly, but a good goat nonetheless. Young man does an awesome job getting him shown too. Young lady in the pink's going to be tough tomorrow in showmanship. That's a big bone goat that's ultra big chested, maybe even thicker in his arm than our class winner. When we set him into motion and even stuck, I think you know his hole. He gets a little bit too weak behind his shoulder for me. He's not quite as firm over his rack compared to our class winner, but a nice goat nonetheless. Is going to be competitive back when we bring him back in a few. Let's congratulate those two kiddos on a job well done.
Out of Class 3 market goats, your winner is Hagen Tippett from Steptoe Canyon 4-H, and your second place was Ariana Daniels from Muddy Rascals 4-H. Class 4 is coming into the ring now. We have Allie Hunt from Troy Farmhands 4-H, Bella Bickley from West Plains Rangers 4-H, Carter DeBolt from Colfax Grow 'em and Show 'em, Waverly Burinot from Roselia 4-H, and Justin Boring from Freeman 4-H. And just a reminder, we've had a few people ask, we will do Pee Wee Showmanship tomorrow as the first class at 1:30 or whenever the goat show starts. So Pee Wee Showmanship, if you'd like to do it, come see me, and so we make sure we know how many kids are doing Pee Wee Showmanship tomorrow right before the juniors start.
fourth class had some sort, but two good ones here at the top end of this class, and I think you could go back and forth between both of these, and I did so in my head. I think the young lady, I kind of corrected one little thing about her showmanship, and man, she really did a great job and took my advice with strides and helped her end up getting the class win. But when that one came in, that's the big bone burly one that's the most massive. He is the thickest down his top line and the thickest ended. He gets a little bit deeper chested. He isn't quite as pretty up front or as level hipped as the one in second, and that's what makes it close, but he does have more meat animal shape running down the top side of his skeleton there and is still proportional and good balance. Young man is an excellent showing here in two and really makes it close. That's a taller fronted goat who's smoother shouldered and longer necked, really level down his top line. Get your hands on him. He's a little bit flatter ribbed. Consequently, he just doesn't grab with as much shape up high. That's kind of the deciding factor out here. But two goats with still a lot of product. Young lady's brown goat in third is kind of a meat and taters goat. This one does have some power and some product. This one gets a little bit too thick necked for me and a little bit deeper chested. That one gets a little bit rounder about his hip as well. That's where I'd like to change that guy. The two that are coming out next, I think, get very, very close. Those are actually switched. The young lady in the pink is fourth. That goat's better handling. Your goat's grabs with more shape out of the back of his shoulder and wider and firmer to his edges compared to 1, 2, and 3. That goat gets a little bit frail and just not quite as fancy through his front third. Young lady, when you round out the class, I think you do a good job leading your goat. He's long-necked and really big-footed. He just needs more muscle, and he gets a little bit loose skin for me. Good class of 5. Let's congratulate these kiddos with a nice hand.
Your first place out of class, was that class 3? Of class 4 market goats was Allie Hunt. Your second place was Justin Boring, and they'll be coming back for the final drive. Class 5 is coming into the ring now. We have Bella Bickley from West Plains Rangers 4-H, Paxton Butcher from Roselia 4-H, Bria Bickley from West Plains Rangers 4-H, and Candace Eider from Northwest Rangers. Following this class, we will go right into our first class of FFA goats, and then we'll do the final drive for 4-H following the FFA show. So if you have a callback, you'll be waiting until the completion of the FFA classes.
Another good class with a very easy and obvious winner, maybe the easiest one we've had this day. Cape Fronted Weather, just massive in terms of his power and product. He looks like, for being the heavyweight, he might be just a little overdone from the outside looking in. When you put your hands on him, I think he's right on the money for his target weight and everything. He's still got a groove out of his back and wide and square to his loin edges. His edges and rack are still fresh and have that good type of touch and tone about him. When he's stuck, he maybe rounds from hooks to pins a little bit more than ideal. I think Father Time's being a little bit more hard on about his head and neck, but that's being critical of a goat that balances up extremely well and by some margin is the heaviest muscled animal we've seen thus far. Congratulations, you young lady. And I don't want to take anything away from the young man here in second, because one, that's probably the prettiest, aside from the girl a few classes ago, that's probably the prettiest colored goat I've ever seen, along with the one here in fourth. Nice flaxy look about him as well. A goat that has the second most muscle, the second most bone, the second most width, the second most look. That's what's get you a second place out here. Compared to our winner, he's just not quite as fancy from the side, but he's much leveler and more powerful than the two right behind him. Young man, he did a great job. Painted Up goat here in three is one that I think handles with more shape up front. He's bigger chested and just has more width between his front legs. I like that about him, and that's what keeps him over four. I thought you did a good job getting him shown. And young lady that rounds out the class, another really cool looking one in terms of color. Long neck. This one just needs more muscle and look to move up any higher. Great job to these kiddos. Let's pay them off with a round of applause.
For your Class 5 of 4-H market goats, first place, Candace Eider. Second place, Paxton Butcher. Third, Bella Bickley. And fourth was Bria Bickley. Coming into the ring now, we have a single entry starting our FFA market goat show. Tessa Hoskin from Ephrata FFA with a 68-pound goat. There are 5 classes total of FFA market goats. Following that, we will do our 4-H final drive, then the FFA final drive, and then I believe a Supreme.
Young lady's the only one out here, and so I worked her just a little bit longer, but excitingly, she'll get to come back for the grand drive, too, and get to be a part of that and get a second look for possibly Supreme FFA. This Painted Up goat, I think, is balanced extremely well. One of the stronger top goats in the show that's level out of her hip. I think that one's neck comes high out of her shoulder, and the young lady does a good job showing her to highlight those positive attributes. Big picture, I do think that she needs more muscle and skeletal width in the grand scheme of things, but she's very, very well balanced. Congratulations, this young lady, on a job well done.
Out of your Class 1 market goats in our single entry, Tessa Hoskin will be coming back for the final drive. Coming into Class 2, we have Reagan Reedy, Peyton Miller, Lacey Jacobson, Miranda Phillips, and Margaret St. Ammon. These goats weigh between 88 pounds and 95 pounds.
One of the deeper classes we've seen so far in the goat show, and with that being said, I still think the young lady up front needs to win this particular class. That one is just monster-chested, big-backed, and just has the most meat animal shape, but still props up with a look of quality and athleticism from the side. I think his slope of shoulder from the top of his blade down to the lower portion of his chest is really, really good. I think his hip and hind leg work efficiently. I think his hind leg is stout, attractive, and functional, and I think that's the recipe for what it needs to be. And then he just has the most shape and power up high as well. I don't want to take anything away from the goat here in second, because when you get your hands on him, I think that's maybe the tighter skin goat that's just a little bit fresher in his touch up high. From the side, though, he cuts up across the plane of his stifle, and that follows true when you step in behind him. He needs more pin width and he needs more lower twist, but a goat whose handling quality is really good. He only does a good job getting him propped up where his front end and everything look awfully good. A good goat here in third, I'm going to bring back to the grand drive later. Big chested, round rib, thick top. He just planes up comparatively to 1-2 a little bit more. He's deeper chested than the one in second. He's weaker topped and rounder hip than the one there that won that class, but he's still proportional, and that guy has a lot of muscle and meat animal quality. That's why we'll bring him back. A nice third place goat. Young lady here in 4 has a goat that's just more attractive from the profile. She's leveler out of the back of her shoulder and leveler from hooks to pins. She just doesn't have the muscle to play with 1, 2, and 3, but she's good looking, and I like the way you get her stuck. Young lady that rounds out the class maybe has as good as eye contact and switching sides as anybody we've seen in the goat show so far. A level-made goat that just needs more muscle and power to work up any higher. Good job to those kiddos. Let's pay them off with a round of applause. Good job, hon.
For Class 2 of your FFA market goats, coming back will be Margaret St. Ammon, Reagan Reedy, and Lacey Jacobson. Congratulations. Coming into the ring now, we have Class 3 of market goats. Brady Frame from Kamiakin FFA, Mason DeBolt from Medical Lake FFA, Robert Maxon from Richland FFA, and Casey Haney from Deer Park FFA. We have Reagan Reedy from Deer Park FFA, Ashlyn Butcher from Roselia FFA, and Ryder Riddles from Newport FFA.
we kind of cranked up the quality and depth out here in this class. I don't remember what number we're on, but a good class nonetheless. And with that being said, a very competitive top 3, but the young man up front wins very, very easily. That's a big bone goat. His chest floor, you could drive a truck in between, and I think he handles that up high very adequately. He's big topped and really thick and handles that power all the way back, not deviating in one spot. Big hip in that goat and still extremely portional and good looking on the move. This guy needs to be more expressive if we're going to make him better. We'd like to maybe see more turn and shape in his lower stifle. I'd like to maybe see his rack with just a little bit more groove down the middle of it. Maybe lay back his shoulder angle just ever so slightly. I'm being picky of a very nice animal. Young man, great job. I think 2 and 3 get very, very close. 2 and 3 get very close, and you can go back and forth. I like the athleticism and hind leg of the young lady's goats a little bit better. When we ask him to go, he maintains his top line a little bit better. He's stronger on his rear ankle. That's a goat that I think is more picked up in his chest floor as well. This one isn't as stout from behind or up high as the one there in third. Has more than enough for me, and that's why she went ahead and went second. Young man's goat, a light-headed goat here in third, does have more muscle than the young lady's. That's a bigger back goat that's thicker ended. That one has too much set to his rear ankle. That one gets deeper chested, and that one just wants to drop in his top line when we ask him to go. Young man there in 4, I remember him from a couple years ago having a grand champion steer, I believe, in Colfax. He did a great job out here. A big butted goat that has a long neck and a big chest floor. Just gets a little bit too weak in his top line and round out of his hip for me. That's where I'd like to change it, but young man, you did a good job. The goat coming out next, I contemplated a switch because that one's big bone and big chested. I actually think that one's stronger in his top line as well, but for me, that one got a little bit larger circumference of neck, rounder hip. That one needs to have more punch and power when you step in behind him. The 2 goats that round out this class are ones that are long-necked and long-sided. Both of them need more muscle up high and from behind to work up any higher in this particular class. Great job to those kiddos. Let's put our hands together for them.
All right, coming back from Class 3 will be Brady Frame, Reagan Reedy, and Ryder Riddles. Class 4 is in the ring now. Lindsay Buckland, Bella Scavone, Casey McHarg, Hudson Butcher, and Cassie Johnson. These goats are 116 to 123 pounds. There's one more class of FFA market goats, and then we'll do the 4-H final drive.
We got some big boys out here, but I think our top two are still compositionally holding together, and that's what separates himself fairly drastically. But the one that wins this particular class, the young lady up front, that goat still has a very high sense of quality from the side with his height to shoulder, strength of top line, and levelness out of his hip. He's still one that can get out and motor with some attractiveness too in his lower joints. Without a doubt, he's the trimmest goat that handles with the most muscle up high, combines that with balance. The one there in second is extremely long-necked and another level-hipped one. He gets a little bit too weak behind his shoulder. He doesn't quite have the power and punch through his lower hip and stifle as our class winner. Consequently, he went ahead and got second place, but a good goat nonetheless that I think has a pretty big gap between second and third. I don't want to take away from the young lady's goat in third because I thought she did a great job getting him shown. That's a big-chested goat with a lot of performance, too weak in his top line and needs more muscle. The two brown goats that round out the class actually have some thickness up high and some chest width. They just need to be more attractive, leveler made from the side, and have more genuine muscle and be more compositionally genuine. Good class from top to bottom. Let's congratulate these kiddos for their hard work.
For Class 4 Market Goats, FFA, first place, Bella Scavoni. Second place, Cassie Johnson. Third, Lindsay Buckland. Fourth, Casey McHarg. And fifth was Hudson Butcher. Coming into the ring now, we have our final class of FFA Market Goats, Audrey Chapin, Lindsay Buckland, Casey McHarg, and Reagan Chapin.
Wrapping up the goat show here with some large ones, to say the least. These are some big goats, but the kiddos, I think, are handling them extremely well because if they wanted to, I'm sure they could take off with some of these kiddos. The young two up front, I think, get rather close for me. From the ankle up, the one that wins our class has to win. That one's the highest quality and most youthful about his head, neck, and chest, and still has some shape out of the back of his shoulder and from behind. He's starting to crash on those rear pasterns and getting a little bit flat and plain in his muscle pattern, but the goat that has the highest sense of quality from there up, and I like his head and neck considerably better. The one there in two is probably has more pounds of product and more thickness. He's bigger chested and probably a little bit stronger in his top line, but with that extra volume of muscle, he gets plainer in his shape, a little bit more wrinkly hided, and just doesn't handle with that tone and touch that we do find in our class winner. 3 and 4 get rather close, and you could go back and forth. The black goat has more skeletal width, bone, and muscle. He, excuse me, is a little bit past his prime. He's a little bit fat for me. I'd like to lean him back ever so slightly to work him up any higher. The young lady that rounds out the class is another goat, which is a little bit too much bark on his forerib, but he combines that with the least amount of muscle, and so that's why I worked him down a little bit. I do like his bone. I like his length of neck as well. Good way to wrap up our FFA show. Let's give these 4 kiddos a nice round of applause.
All right, coming back from Class 5 FFA Market Goats will be Audrey Chapin and Lindsay Buckland. In the ring now, shortly, coming in, is our final drive for the 4-H Market Goat Show. For our 4-H returning from our 4-H classes, Class 1, we have Kesley Tellison and Grayson Yates. Class 2, we have Josie Nagel and Hunter Wilson. Class 3, we have Hagen Tippett and Ariana Brinkley. Class 4, we have Allie Hunt and Justin Boring. And Class 5, we have Candace Eider and Paxton Butcher. Our judge will select the top 5 out of this class. And the top 2 will return for the Supreme Overall Market Goat, which is sponsored very generously by Zach and Bailey St. John in memory of Dave St. John. Thank you so much for your kind contribution and your support. We do ask that if you are the Supreme Market Goat Champion, if parents are listening, we would like to talk to that showman afterwards so that we can be sure to get that sponsor thanked this evening. Thank you.
4-H goat show was a lot of fun, and we saw a lot of really good exhibitors coming in and out of the ring. Grateful for the ring time, which makes my job as a judge extremely gratifying. Starting with Class 1 all the way to Class 5 for the 4-H show, we saw some good goats and some great exhibitors out here. Like kind of I did with the sheep show, I'm not going to talk each and every one. There's a few out here that I think are in contention, particularly the two I just walked. I think they're the shapely, opened up ones with a sense of quality from the side. The young man's goat, I think, when parked, is a little bit leveler from hooks to pins and offers just a little bit more shape and expression about his hip and stifle. He gets a little bit short-hipped as well, and for being the smaller goat, he's a little bit thicker-fronted and wants to drop his chest in motion as well. In motion, I like the cape-fronted goat the girl is showing. I think he has a better sense of quality about his front third, and his neck comes higher to the top side of his blade. He wants to duck his pins just ever so slightly, and he gets just, he's big and firm-muscled, but he could use just a little bit more shape and expression to that muscle. That's what gets it close, but he's definitely a very, very high-quality goat that does a lot of really good things for me. With that being said, young lady is going to be our champion, and young man is going to be a reserve. After 1 and 2, it gets a lot closer and harder to maybe align 3, 4, and 5 in a way that follows a pattern or makes sense. The young lady in the pink followed our reserve with a goat that had a lot of quality in with that one. Big boned and good fronted, just gets a little bit weaker top. And the young lady in the black brings us a goat that handles well. I think that one's stronger in the out of her shoulder than the one right behind her, but maybe sacrifices a little bit of power. I like the extra power and bone in the young lady in pink. She's going to be third overall. Let's give her a hand. Then after that, I like the young lady in black. And then I think it gets really close, and you can go to a few different options. At a class number 1, I think this is a goat that in 60, 90 days easily is top 5, because that one has a chest floor, is good looking, enough muscle. That one's just very green today. The pink goat's tall fronted and good looking, but does need more muscle. The black goat's thick, but needs to be prettier. And young lady's goat's real level and has muscle, just a little bit plain from the side. For me, I think it's between these two, and there is one pound for pound that does have more muscle. That's young lady with the class 1 winner. She'll be 5th overall.
We're going to go ahead and do our FFA final drive and Supremes, and then we'll do pictures. So if you are wanting a picture with our judge, then wait, and we'll take a small picture break before we go into the prospect and doe, sorry. Your champion 4-H market goat goes to Candace Eider, Northwest Rangers 4-H, and your reserve champion 4-H market goat goes to Hagen Tippett of Steptoe Canyon 4-H. Your 3rd overall 4-H market goat was Ariana Daniels from Muddy Rascals 4-H. Your 4th overall was Josie Nagel from Muddy Rascals 4-H. And your 5th overall was Kesley Tellison from Peaceful Valley 4-H. Coming into the ring now, we have our FFA class winners for the FFA final drive market goats. Class 1 is Tessa Hoskin. Out of Class 2, we have Margaret St. Ammon and Reagan Reedy. Out of Class 3, we have Brady Frame and Reagan Reedy. And Ryder. And out of Class 4, we have Bella Scavoni and Cassie Johnson. And out of Class 5, we have Lindsay Buckland and Audrey Chapin. Following this, we'll have our Supreme Market Goat Drive.
I thought there was at least a few of these classes there was a little bit more depth in the FFA show. I'm really kind of gauging classes 2 and 3 out here. That was a lot of quality in those. Class winner of class number 2 was the one that was the combo goat of having some look and some athleticism with still muscle and power, and he rose to the forefront fairly easily. Compared to another one out here, that one probably needs more in the seam of his pants or just a little bit more from behind, but in the grand scheme of things and relative to an average goat, that goat has still more than enough muscle and combines it with a great look. The one that was second to that one was really good looking and probably a little bit more attractive up front. That one just kind of ran out of steam from behind as well. I think that one just got a little bit not quite as attractive on the move as well. Young man that was third in that class, we opted to bring him back because that was a close pair. That one does have more muscles, particularly from behind and out the back of his shoulder. He just got a little bit more confident about his look through his front third and then his hind leg as well. Class winner at a class number 3 is maybe one of the higher quality animals we've seen all day, sheep show included. Big bone, good looking, ultra heavy muscled. Like I said before, he gets a little bit more up and down in his shoulder. The muscle that he does have, there's a lot of it, but maybe we could see it with just a few more creases and shape in it. I think that would just make him more elite. The one that was second to that one, I thought 2 and 3 were relatively close, but the young lady's goat was more attractive, stronger topped, and had more expression. For me, that's kind of gauging the class right there in those top 5. If I come back onto the mic, it'll probably be for 4th or 5th overall. But a good FFA show out here. It's been a lot of fun to work with them. I'm sure they're hotter than blue blazes, so I'll go quick. Let's give these kiddos a round of applause, and I'll go select your top 5.
All right, your champion FFA market goat goes to Brady Frame from Kamaikan FFA, and your reserve champion FFA market goat goes to Margaret St. Amand of Riverside FFA. At this time, we're going to bring those 4 goats back into the ring, the champion 4-H and the champion FFA for your supreme champion market goat, which is sponsored in memory of Dave St. John. Thank you, Zach and Bailey St. John, for making this happen. We really appreciate your continued support of the Junior Show.
We won't waste much time out here. We just got done talking these goats, and it's exciting to see growth from last year to this year in the goat show, and not only growth in numbers, but growth in quality. These are four extremely good goats that could play at a lot of places and win a lot of regional fairs and play at state fairs and whatnot. So I'd be happy for your guys and your goat leaders in your community for doing such a great job. With that being said, I'm going to line them up 1, 2, 3, and 4. With that, I'll go shake their hand in that order. Awesome goat show. Let's give these kiddos a round of applause for a job well done.
We are going to take a short break now for pictures, and then we will roll right into our prospect goats. All right, coming into the ring now, we have our first class of 4-H prospect goats. Charlotte Maxon from Blue Rain 4-H. Hagen Tippett from Steptoe Canyon 4-H. Bo Hatch from Kootenai County 4-H. Ariana Daniels from Muddy Rascals 4-H. And Josie Nagel from Muddy Rascals 4-H. My apologies. We have a few more in this class. So we also have Hunter Wilson from the Ranchers 4-H Club, Presley Willis from Kootenai County 4-H, Corbin Hayes from North Country 4-H, and Cassidy Heisteman from Steptoe Canyon 4-H.
top 5?
And then I'll let you pick the top 5 because the kids are going to want to know.
Okay.
So do you want to grab one more out?
Then we'll do 4 purple in this class. Very interesting prospect class. We have some still in their hair and kind of baby goat hair, and some that are a little bit more progressed in weight and size and maturity. But I think when you kind of study them through, I think these two itty bitty ones bring the most quality to the table. I've been back and forth on these. I like the white-headed goat an awful lot. Looking through his fuzz, he's all there. He's big in his back and just really shapely in his hip. I like the way he gets out and moves. He gets a little off in his shoulder or behind his shoulder when we ask him to go, but most goats do, and I definitely think that his top line is certainly acceptable. That one props up with an exceptional look from the side and is actually higher in his tail root than the one there in second. I think that one's a little bit more advanced in regards to just his power and punch as well. This goat in second I think is going to be awfully good, and I think his hip and hind leg are a little bit more athletic and functional as well, but it's kind of funny because his front end, his knee needs to be laid back a little bit further. He's one that's probably stronger topped when set into motion, but when you grab him, he's a little bit weaker behind his shoulder. But these are two muscular goats that have a good look. I think their future is awfully bright and could be shown for a long time. 4 and 5 get close, and I think, 3 and 4 get close. Young lady with third is one that I think has more muscle and power. That goat is extremely big-chested, big in his forearm. I think he kind of takes it too far because I'd like to trim him up in his neck for this stage in the game. I'd like to power him up in his lower hip. Although he's got a volume of muscle, he needs to be deeper in his twist and just have a little bit more fanciness up front. That's why I like the young man's goat there in third, because that one's tall, fronted, and good looking up front, longer spined, and just leveler and more attractive out of his hip and hind leg. He just doesn't have the muscle pound for pound as those top 3. Therefore, he sorted him down just a little bit further. Young lady there in 5, that's a cool looking goat that's dead level down his top line. He gets too straight in his hock, and of my top 5 is the flattest in his hip. The one that's coming out next is long, tall, and pretty, but needs more muscle and needs to be stronger in his rear ankle for this stage in the game. The rest of the goats in this class are being shown well. Some have a strong top line, some have some bone, some have some look up front. Big picture, they all need a little bit more muscle and skeletal width to work up any higher. Good class from top to bottom. Let's congratulate those kiddos on a job well done.
In the ring now, we have Kelly Cordell, Caden Runyon, Layla Deeds, Hattie Smith, and Levi Smith. This is the second class of 4-H prospect goats. We will go ahead and do our FFA prospect classes following this, and then a final drive for prospects. And we will have our judge select the top 5, just as we all like to know where the top 5 stand. Also, if you have a little person that would like to do Pee-wee showmanship, come and let me know, and we'll be sure to get them signed up for tomorrow. We're going to do Pee-wee showmanship right before the juniors show tomorrow for the goat show.
Goats with some bright future here, and I think the one up front wins very easily. That's a good one, and I think if you throw him into the market show, he's in that top four very, very easily. This is an opened up one with a lot of shape and power, but I think it's cool how strong and level he is down his top line all the way back to where his tail starts. He's ultra big chested, big armed, and just powerful up high, but yet still flat and smooth at the base of his shoulder. I could go on and on. A very nice goat to go ahead and win this class. We could make him more exotic about his neck, possibly, but that's just being maybe a little bit needy of an awful nice one. 2 and 3 get very close, and I think you go with more power or more look, and I usually always go with a little bit more look. In this case, young ladies go with more power is going to go ahead and get the nod. That one just definitely has the distinguishable advantage in terms of power and meat animal shape out of the back of its shoulder and loin and hip. I think that one's still good enough looking for me. Young man's goat props up with a more attractive and maybe more trendy look from the side, tall-shouldered and dead level. That one narrows up too much from hooks to pins and gets flat across the plane of his stifle. That goat needs to be more robust in the turn to his rib to play with that one a little bit harder, but that's a close between 2 and 3. Young lady's goat there in 4 is one that's ultra cool looking about its neck and just the way he gets shown on the move. That's a functional goat in regards to his feet and legs. For me, he's almost a rib too long, and it kind of throws off his look from the side. It gets off behind his shoulder and is more pronounced in his breastplate. Big picture, I'd like to stouten him up in his bone and just give him a little bit more muscle from behind. Young man's doe that rounds out the class is extremely functional in her feet and legs, and I think she's actually a little bit better chested than the weather right ahead of her. She handles with the least amount of shape and product down the top side of her skeleton. Therefore, I worked her down just a little bit further. Good job to all 5 of those kiddos. Let's pay them off with a nice round of applause.
All right, we're going to go ahead and merge class 1 and 2 of the FFA prospect show just because there's only 4 total. So coming into this class, our one and only FFA class will be Gracie Maxon from Richland FFA, Aiden Dumas from Richland FFA, Brody Driver from Newport FFA, and Leah Musson from Colton FFA. Following this class, we're going to bring back all of the purple ribbons for the Champion Prospect Drive. And then we will go right into our doe show, not breaking for pictures with the judge at the backdrop. So if you'd like to grab pictures without the judge, you're more than welcome to do so.
FFA bring us a nice class winner out here to wrap up our prospect show. A goat that props up with an attractive look from the side. I think he's just with a little time and groceries and getting him more massive, he'll come into himself and proportion out more, but his features in regards to his neck, his hip, and just his overall look is awfully cool. The dapple goat in second is probably a little bit more dense in his skeleton, stouter in his foot and his arm and probably his blade, one that has a little bit more muscle to him. He needs to be stronger topped and cleaner at the base of his shoulder, probably handle his hind legs. He's functional, but probably could move just a little bit more attractively out of his hip and hind leg. 3 and 4, I actually think 2 and 3 are relatively close, but the goat in 3 just gives up too much performance and size today. I think that one will always be a little bit lighter muscle than the other one, so that kind of justified my placing, but I do think that's a goat that's going to be strong topped and good looking up front. He'll be a fun project for you all year. And young lady, you round out the class with a goat that I think is kind of the same carbon copy of the one right ahead of it. Good looking up front and strong top. That one just needs more time on feed. Both of those need a lot of TLC, groceries, get them fat. That's going to help you on down the road. Good job to these 4. Let's pay them off with a nice round of applause.
All right, coming back from our FFA prospect show will be Brody Driver and Leah Musson. We will also have from our first class of prospect 4-H goats coming back to the ring is Hunter Wilson and Hagen Tippett, as well as, oh, my apologies, Hagen Tippett, Bo Hatch, Ariana Daniels, and Hunter Wilson will be coming back from Class 1 of 4-H Prospect. Coming back from Class 2 of 4-H Prospect will be Layla Deeds and Hattie Smith. We are going to roll right into our doe show following this class, unless our judge needs a short break.
We got some bright futures for the goats out here in this lineup. For me, there's an easy and obvious winner, one that could have played extremely well in the Market Goat Show. Young lady in the green shirt, you're going to be our champion today. Congratulations. After that, we have a little bit more sort out here. The goat from class number 1 is still got his baby hair on him and is green. That one's really cool, and so is the second behind him. That one is maybe a little more over in his knee, but probably better in his hip and hind leg. The third and fourth in that class, I think, bring a lot of quality together as well. And in the first place out of the second class, or the second place out of the second class, is just really powerful and opened up, still good looking enough. The third is deadly looking, but probably needed more rib and power. Class number 3, that goat, the 1, is the best looking with still enough muscle, probably needs more power compared to some of these others. A good muscled goat in the dapple one just probably needs to be more attractive from the side. I'm going to put the mic down and go select them 2 through 5. Let's give them one more round of applause. Nice prospect show.
Your overall champion prospect goat goes to Layla Deeds, and your reserve champion prospect goat goes to Hunter Wilson. Your third overall went to Hagen Tippett. Your fourth overall is Ariana Daniels. And your fifth overall was Caden Runyon, I believe. My apologies, that was Bo Hatch was your fifth overall. Let's roll. All right, we're going to go ahead and start your 4-H Doeling show. Coming into Class 1, we have Kesley Tellison, Peaceful Valley 4-H, Scarlett McGregor, Lacrosse, All-Purpose 4-H, and Scarlett McGregor, Lacrosse, All-Purpose 4-H. We have a handful of smaller classes. Class 2 will be next. If you get a callback or a purple ribbon from any of the DOE classes, you'll come back for the overall DOE drive between 4-H and FFA.
Class 1 of the Doe Show has some good ones. This paint goat, I think, has an awfully bright future. She's bold-ribbed and really muscular, opens up with a nice pin width from behind and still has some power and punch there. Props up with a good look from the profile. I like where her spine sits up in her. I think the more she progresses and grows, the better she's going to get. Nice place to start off. The one here in second is longer necked, longer spined, a little bit later maturing. I just don't think she's equipped with quite as much rib and muscle as that other one. So of course, she's small and has a lot of time to grow, but I just think she's gauged just a little bit narrower as an individual. That's where I'd like to change that one just to move her up any higher. Black-headed goat that wraps up this class out here is one that's ultra feminine, level made. She needs more genuine foot size, muscle, and rib to work up any higher. Good job to these three young ladies. Congratulations.
Okay, coming back out of class 1 is Kesley Tellison, and she'll be coming back to the final drive. And then Scarlett McGregor had 2 great entries following in second and third. Coming into class 2, we have Harley Colston, Corbin Hayes, Josie Nagel, Hunter Wilson, Paisley Orcutt, and Harley Colston again. These does weigh between 45 and 58 pounds.
a lot deeper class here in class number 2. Very, very nice place to start. This is my kind of female. She's really opened up and shapely up high, but ultra, ultra good looking. I like that she looks like a lady up front, but looks like she can make weathers from their back. You know, she gets a little bit rounder to her edges, and that's what I kind of like the goat there in third. I think she's really big loined. The 1 and 2 is just really upstanding in her rack, but that class winner is just so round bodied and so good. I think she's the most athletic and the broodiest in her middle as well. The one here in 2 is taller fronted and just a little bit, maybe a little bit longer spine. She's a good handling doe as well. She gets flatter in the shape to her forerib. She's one that needs to be a little bit softer flanked from chest to flank even to just give her more maternal look from the side. The one here in 3 handles extremely good. That's the biggest loin goat in class. For me, she just, I like shallow chested goats, but she takes it to an extreme regards to her flank. Just a little bit too tubular for a breeding show. I think she gets a little bit more fragile about her foot size as well comparatively. The one here in 4 and 5 get a very close. Young lady with a cool colored shirt has the 4th place goat, and that one's big boned and bold in her hip as well. That one's off in her neck attachment and needs to be leveler out of her hip. The black goat comes out next, and that one's leveler in her top line and leveler out of her hip. That one needs more meat animal shape run down the top side of her spine to move up any higher. Young man wraps up our class with a doe that's ultra feminine, ultra level. I like all those things about her. She just needs more skeletal width and power to move up any higher in this class. Great job to these kiddos. Congratulations.
All right, out of your class 2 does, first place went to Paisley Orcutt of Country Kids 4-H. Second place was Hunter Wilson from the Ranchers 4-H Club. And third was Josie Nagel from Muddy Rascals 4-H. And those, I'm sorry, the first 2 will be coming back. Congratulations to the rest of you. Coming into class 3 breeding does, we have Layla Deeds from Kootenai County 4-H, Presley Willis from Kootenai County 4-H, Paisley Orcutt from Country Kids 4-H, and Vincent Bass from Troy Farmhands 4-H.
quality does down the lineup. 1 and 2 get pretty close out here. Young Ladies Doe, both of these are ultra good. Young Ladies Doe, I think, is just a shot more complete. I think she attaches her neck higher on the top side of her blade and then transitions their back smoother into her spine, just a little bit stronger. I think she's flatter and smoother about the base of her shoulder. I think she's a little bit more attractive when we set her into motion. I think she's softer in her flank, all of those things. I think she gives up a little bit in terms of foot size and maybe dimension, and that's what does make it close, but I think she's the more attractive doe that just has a little bit more broody look about her in regards to her rear rib and flank. This white doe is all there when you get your hands on her. She's really big racked and the biggest loin doe we've had in the show so far. I think she handles it extremely well on the move. She's dead level and still good looking, but compared to our winner, she's not quite as elevated at the top of her shoulder, as neat at the base of her shoulder, and she's one that could probably just utilize her hind leg with a little bit more attractiveness. But two good does there. Best third place doe in the show so far. This one's ultra big ribbed and extra fuzzy, but underneath that hair, she doesn't quite have as much muscle as 1 and 2. I think she gets a little bit in at her knee and toes out just to scotch up front. That's where I'd like to change that one and advance her in her foot size. But a doe whose rib shape and just look up front are awfully nice. Doe that wraps up this class is very level. I like her femininity up front. I think she's a little bit bigger footed than the one there in 3. She just runs out of gas from behind, needs to be softer bodied to move up any higher. Good class, very nice pair of does. Let's give these kiddos a round of applause.
For our For class 3 of breeding does, first place was Paisley Orcutt, second place was Vincent Bass, and they'll be coming back for the final drive. Going into class 4, we have Brooklyn Runyon from FBME 4H, Hunter Wilson from the Ranchers Club 4H, Cammie Williams from Bonner County 4H, Justin Boring from Freeman 4H, and Austin McKay.
This flat-eared doe, I think, wins very easily in my mind. She's one that, when set in motion, just kind of demands your attention by her functionality, but also her prance. She's tall at the point of her shoulder and just ultra feminine there. You get your hands on her, she's all there in terms of a meat animal, but still looks like a show animal on a collar. You know, she gets a little bit rounder from hooks to pins. I think she's definitely functional, but maybe compared to the last winter and the winter before that, she maybe gets a shot choppy in the way she moves that hind leg, but we'll study them when we get them all back out for the Grand Drive. Very, very high quality female to go ahead and win this class. Nothing to take away from the young man's goat here in second, because man, she handles good underneath that hair. She's dead level all the way down to her tail. I like that about her. She just runs out of gas from behind and just doesn't have the pin width or lower stifle shape as our class winner. She's one that gets a little bit more straight in her shoulder and knee, and just doesn't probably could be advanced in her foot and bone size as well. Young lady there in 3, that painted up doe, is ultra broody middled. I like her rib. I like her depth of body. Super functional. Going to last in the herd for many, many years to come for you, young lady. She just needs more bone and a little bit more look up front. Paint doe coming out next. I thought that pair was close. She's leveler from hooks to pins and has a little bit more look up front. She just doesn't meet my hand with enough meat animal shape out of the back of her shoulder. Probably could be stouter footed. And kind of the same thing for the young lady's goat here that rounds up the class. Thought this one's ultra feminine, long necked and somewhat level, but that one just needs more skeletal width and muscle to work up any higher. Great job to those 5 kiddos. Congratulations to each and every one of them.
Out of Class 4, first place was Cammie Williams, and second place was Hunter Wilson. Both of them will be coming back for the final drive. We have one final class of 4-H breeding does. We'll have Bo Hatch and Candace Eider coming into the ring just with 2 entries. Following this, we have a handful of FFA classes, and then we'll bring back all of our purple ribbon does for a final drive.
To wrap up the last class of the 4-H show before we swing into the FFA, we have a pair of does that are very high quality. I think they're more alike than they are different. They're both really powerful, big-footed, just kind of a powerhouse type of females that maybe we could fancy up here or there, but they're both proportional. I like these females an awful lot. I think they look very productive and broody. The one that we start off with is just more opened up in her chest floor and more secure from hock to ground and knee to ground. She grabs with more genuine shape out of her shoulder and is bigger pinned as well. I think she's stouter about her skull and it has more jaw density. She gets a little bit too weak behind her shoulder for me. I'd like to maybe see for how powerful she is up high. That's not a light bone doe by any means, but if we want to make her perfect, we can maybe advance her in her bone size. But a nice doe that'll be exciting to bring back to the Grand Drive. The one here in second is extremely level made, and I like that about her. Up front, she brings the point of her knee in ever so slightly. She just doesn't quite have the muscularity that I find in my class winner when I get my hands on her, and she's a little bit weaker jawed and just kind of throws off her look of balance from the side. Good pair of does to wrap up our 4-H show. Let's congratulate these young ladies. Nice job. Good job, girls.
Coming into the ring, we have Class 1 FFA breed does. We have Bridget St. Amon and Rayleigh Fleshman.
Little does with a bright future. The painted up doe, I think, just a little bit more exotic in her look and has harder to build pieces. She's really tucked up there in her chest floor and just has a mile-long neck, but she's also consequently bigger chested up front as well. I think when you look through the hair or feel through the hair, she's bolder in her pin set. I wasn't, maybe I thought she was going to be bigger back than what she is. In the next few months, I'd really push her top shape and try to get her loin and her rack just right. She's a little green down the top side of her skeleton there, but definitely she's bolder ribbed and bigger chested. I think it'll come, and then she has the extra look and extra flank to boot. There's one here in second. It's definitely not a landslide. I think this pair is close. She handles with more shape and a square to her edges. That's a doe that I think has more stoutness of skull and forearm. I like that about her. To me, she just gets a little bit plainer in her look. She rounds out of her hip just a little bit more and is a little deeper chested. Those are the differences between those two, but I think she's got an awfully bright future. Congratulations to both those young ladies.
We are now welcoming into the ring Class 2 FFA breed does, Austin Brash and Bella Shivani.
You know, these classes aren't super big, but the quality is there, and I like these two an awful lot. And when they came in, I actually had them switched in the lineup. I thought the doe in second maybe got out and go, but once she caught her stride, the doe, our class winner, she really is one that does a lot of good things. First, when you get your hands on her, she has more shape down her spine, and particularly is bigger loined. And then when you look up front, I think she's bigger chested and more secure from knee to ground and propped up from the side. She's better in her neck attachment and leveler from hooks to pins. She gets too weak on her rear ankle, and I'd like to correct her there. I'd like to soften her in her flank or correct her from chest to flank ever so slightly to make her more better. The one here in second's ultra feminine. I think she's longer necked and maybe cleaner at the base of her chest. She gets rounder in her hip, and with that said, she also just doesn't have quite as enough muscle when I get my hands on her. But two good does nonetheless that are shown extremely well. Congratulations to both those girls.
Your first place goes to Bella Scavoni, and your second place goes to Austin Brash. Congratulations, girls. They're both coming back for the final drive. All right, coming into Class 3, we have Belle Orcutt, Reagan Cortice, Lacey Jacobson, and Margaret St. Ammon. And then we have a single entry following this class in Class 4, and we'll bring everybody back for the final drive that has a purple ribbon. I would also like to thank Zane Webster for being here with us to evaluate both our sheep and goats today. He grew up in southeastern Arizona, heavily involved in agriculture. He attended Connors State College, and he made the junior college national All-American livestock judging team. He then went to Texas Tech University and was honored to be a part of the 2016 national champion livestock judging team and made the reserve national champion individual. He graduated from Tech with a Bachelor's of Science in Animal Science and completed his Master's of Science in Agricultural Education at the University of Arizona. He is now an ag teacher in Kirtland, New Mexico, where he enjoys creating opportunities for youth to succeed and expanding agricultural education opportunities. We are appreciative of him coming here for a second year in a row. I would also like to remind you, if you have any Pee Wee showmen, we only have a couple of the little youngsters signed up. We're going to go ahead and do those right before the junior showmanship starts tomorrow, I believe at 1:30 in the afternoon for goats. Finally, I would like to thank our ring sponsor, the Spangle Saloon, as well as our title sponsors, the Duke and Ruth Fett Trust, as well as the Robert V. Baker Foundation.
A little bit bigger class here, and 4 nice does. I think 1 and 2 have some sort out here, particularly when you get your hands on them. But from the outside looking in, the girl in the green still has the class winner. That's an ultra cool looking one who's just more attractive about her front third, shallower chested and cooler looking. You get your hands on her, she has ample amounts of muscle to win this class. I think her hip and hind leg are just more functional also, while also being more attractive. The doe here in second is kind of surprising when you get your hands on her. She handles with more meat animal shape over her rack and loin, and is bigger in her pin set. But from the side, she doesn't match that power up high with enough foot size. She gets a little bit thicker about the base of her neck. She's longer and deeper chested, which just throws off her balance from the side. She's still good looking though, but on a comparative note, I just don't think she's quite good looking enough to go ahead and win this particular class. Regardless of her power up high. The doe here in third, I think, is going to be so functional later on in life. She's going to last for many years to come because she is perfect in her hind leg, really laid back in her shoulder, great in her knee, soft-centered, bold ribbed, has enough muscle. I just think in a show goat scenario, she needs to have more power. She probably needs to be a little bit shallower chested as well to work up any higher. Doe that wraps up the class is feminine, long-bodied, great hind leg, needs more power and punch to work up any higher. Great job to all four of these young ladies. 4 good does.
Belle Orcutt will be coming back for the final drive, and so will Lacey Jacobson. Congratulations to our other showmen on a job well done. Following this, we have, I believe, a single entry to wrap up our classes for does, and then we'll have our final drive to be the conclusion of our goat show. Coming into the ring now, we have Miranda Phillips from Colfax FFA.
Being a single entry, young lady wins the last class of Wednesday, which is very, very exciting. You have an ultra broody doe out here whose hip and hind leg and structure is as good as any goat we've seen in the ring so far today, and I appreciate that from a show goat standpoint because a lot of them are getting really choppy in the way they move, and she's just very functional. In the same breath, within the show scenario, she probably needs a little bit more genuine muscle. I'd like to maybe see her a little fancier about the base of her chest and where her neck comes out of the top side of her shoulder, but a good functional doe that can get out and go. Great job to this young lady. Nice female to wrap up the end of our doe show.
Congratulations to Miranda Phillips as you'll be coming back for the final drive. At this time, we're going to take a couple of minutes to get all the does, all the callbacks into the ring and stacked up appropriately, and then our judge will select the top 5 does to round out this show. At that time, we will take backdrop photos, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.
It's been a lot of fun today sorting through the sheep and goats and working with really awesome young people. I think, there was a lot of times where I got pretty hard on kids. Not that I enjoy that at all, but, a kid brings 3-4 sheep or 3-4 goats, and they're always towards the bottom. But it never fails that they walk up and shake my hand and thank me for my time. So at the end of the day, we might not be succeeding in maybe garnering a buckle or a banner, but you guys are raising really awesome kids, because that takes a lot of heart and integrity to thank someone who is just very hard on and critical on you, and that was all the way through the show in almost every and single class. So at least I saw it, and I hope you guys notice it. You guys are raising good kids, and this is why we do this project. Down to the does, there's some awfully good females out here. The ones out of class 2, 3, and 4 in the 4-H show are really the ones I'm gauging to win this thing. The one out of class 2, the young lady in the pink, she is so dense and powerful. From her skull to her tail, she's just very dimensional. I think of those 3, she is the stoutest and most attractive in her skull shape. I think she's the levelest in her top line. I think she's probably the biggest in her handle. She's maybe could be just a nickel longer necked or a little longer loined, and that's what the other 2 have the advantage of. For how powerful she is up high in her skull, she's not the biggest bone doe in the world, but that's being critical of one that's awfully nice. Young lady in the green brings me one that I think's just really fun to look at. She's ultra extended up front, ultra feminine, ultra good looking. I like all those things, but you get your hands on her, and she's all there. I think she could make some market weathers and do an awful good job and fancy them up for the long run. She's not near as opened up or busted open in her chest floors or that one right ahead of her, or maybe as robust in her cage, but still has ample amounts of power and maybe a little bit more extension. This black-headed doe is pretty legit when you get your hands on her. She's ultra shapely out of the back of her shoulder and big and wide in her loin. Of those 3 in contention, she's probably the largest in her foot size. I like that about her, and still ultra good looking up front, where her neck sits out of the top side of her blade, and just how her head is assembled there is really fun to look at. She gets a little bit round her hip, and when we ask her to go, she wants to get a little choppy on those rear 2. I think that kind of plays into the factor out here, but very, very good females. I'm going to put down the mic and probably get on a little later on. Those are awfully good goats, better kids. Let's give them a round of applause. Now that we sorted out for our top 3, I think it gets maybe a little bit more spread on which ones you could pick for 4 and 5. Young man that came behind our champion has one that has more extension and maybe even more look, just needs more rib and a little bit more power. I like this light-headed goat an awful lot. Thought that pair was rather close. I think this one is maybe a little bit bigger backed. She's almost kind of got a weird hair coat and it throws off her look from the side. But looking past that, she could be cleaner at the base of her shoulder, a little bit more neat. Maybe where her neck comes out of the top side of her shoulder could just be a little bit more attractive. Young lady in the red brings us a doe that I think you throw out in the pasture and just productive and throws you a very competitive, class-winning, maybe division champion weather year after year. She is thick. She is stout. I like all those things. She gets a little bit weak on her rear ankle. She's a little bit weaker jawed. She gets a little bit too weak in her top line as well. The painted up doe is just really fun to look at from chest to flank. She's awesome. Very, very skinny neck, but still a stout skull and has some width between between her eyes. She's really green and needs more time on feed to bulk up down her top line. And the young lady here in the black that's showing this doe, I think that one's ultra good looking. I think this one's in the hunt for 4th and 5th overall because she's so level and still handles with a lot of power. She gets a little bit straighter about her shoulder. When asked to go, she wants to duck her pins just ever so slightly. I think it comes down to 2 of them out here for 4th and 5th. I'm going to put the mic down and handle them one more time. Thank you guys for having me. Let's give these kiddos another round of applause.
All right, that concludes our goat show. Your champion doe went to Paisley Orcutt. Your reserve champion doe went to Paisley Orcutt. Your 3rd overall doe is Cammie Williams. 4th overall, Belle Orcutt. And 5th overall, Vincent Bass. Congratulations, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.